Alexis, thank you. Now let's check back in on our top story tonight, the final night of the Democratic National Convention.
All week on 27 News at 4, we've had live analysis of what's been going on at the DNC.
Here with us again today is Howard Schweber, a political science expert from UW-Madison. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris will be giving her acceptance speech. How big of a moment is this for her to introduce herself to a larger swath of voters?
I think it's huge. It's remarkable to be this late in a campaign. And of course, this has not been a usual campaign, but it's remarkable to be at this point and have so many people, more than 30% of voters, say they aren't really sure who the candidate is. So it has been a crucial project for this convention to introduce Kamala Harris and frame Kamala Harris as a candidate for the public. And now she has to finish that process with this speech. I think she's going to be pushing on the two themes of joy and we won't go back. For people with a very long memory, Hubert Humphrey was once called the happy warrior, and they're trying to get that kind of vibe again. And I think the hope is that the happy part will appeal to, for example, the 14% of voters who dislike both Trump and Biden, and are looking for a change in tone. And the warrior part, it is hoped, will appeal to the progressive base and long-time Democratic voters and get them mobilized. And that does seem to be the overall strategies. But her performance is going to be watched very closely and is absolutely, I think, crucial for what kind of momentum the party has and she has coming out of this convention.
And last night we heard from Governor Tim Walz, the Democratic vice presidential nominee. What were your main takeaways from his speech?
Right, so Walz did exactly what he had to do and did it with some style. He presented himself, it's all about character. Some people have been complaining that the Harris campaign hasn't had enough policy specifics. There actually are quite a lot of policy specifics, in the party platform and some of the speeches. But it's true that the primary focus for both Harris and Walz has been to present who they are, what kind of person they are. And Walz did a really fine job of presenting himself as a dad, a coach, a middle American, a reasonable guy. The whole thing is to reassure and appeal to voters, but also to make the Trump campaign, when they call these people communists and radicals, simply sound silly. And I think Walz did a really good job. He came across as down to earth, as thoughtful and relatable. On all the boxes about character and personality, he did wonderfully.
Throughout the DNC and really this election, Democrats have made a big push to reclaim patriotism and American iconography. Why has that been such a focus?
Well, a couple of reasons. There's a really, really old theory in political science, but that has always been considered basically true, that Americans respond well to conservative symbology and progressive policy. No party ever does well by not embracing the flag and patriotism and family and religion. For a while, Republicans succeeded in persuading Americans that Democrats didn't share those values. And it's really kind of overdue for the party to reclaim their own legitimacy on those terms. It's been a while since we saw what we saw yesterday. Chants at a Democratic convention of USA, USA. But that really ought not to be a party-specific chant. There really ought to be something you hear on both parties' floors, and that's what they're moving back to.
And tonight's the last night of the DNC, so what's next for Democrats? What are they going to be focusing on as the general election wraps up?
The key absolutely is mobilization. They're hoping that people will leave this convention energized to go back to their communities and energize other people, and that the media coverage will energize people. They want people knocking on doors. You'll have heard over and over the most senior figures, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Bill Clinton, uttering the cautionary note, Hillary Clinton, it's great that we're back in the race. This is nowhere near over, and this is going to take a great deal of work. This is not a time for complacency. Get out there and do your job, so to speak. That's been one of the themes. So we have the presentation of the candidates as inspirational figures, with powerful messages, and not too many detailed specifics, and a hope that and a call on the party faithful to get out there in the trenches and do the work. And that's one of the things Walz was able to convey really well using sports analogies, right? That you win, he used the football analogy, being an old football coach, you win these games in the trenches, and you people watching and you people here on the floor, you're the people in the trenches, we're counting on you. That's absolutely a key element of this thing because it's a tied election at present with minor variations. The deciding factor is going to be turnout and motivation.
All right, Professor Schweber, some really good insight. We always appreciate you being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.